I've always mistaken good health for good looks.
Do you think that's better necessarily?
No. It's just that what you put out into the world has a little more muscle on that bone, but there's a lot of ill health going on underneath the surface. My body wasn't performing.
Do you mean in terms of like physical performance or at work, mental performance, or
Both.
all of that?
All of the above. So not being able to do the things that I wanted to do. Going to do the laundry, we got these big mega boxes of laundry soap. And it was taking me 2 hands, 2 arms to like deal with this box, this standard box of laundry soap. And I'm like, what's going on? Just the performance of my body, I was starting to notice failure in my brain. I wasn't thinking as clearly. I wasn't processing as my CPU was slowing down. It was like I had like an overtaxed, memory bank or something. And everything was kind of breaking down. There's no amount of work I can do at the gym that would help me make the progress that I've made with the testosterone and the gym.
Shannon, it's great to see you. It's been a while. Thank you so much for coming down to Optispan HQ today. This is the first in our coming series of episodes that are really more about individual experiences around how people have taken control of their health and what their experience has been along the way. So you're a first in many ways, but in that way as well. So I thought what I do, as you know, you show up in the book that I'm working on right now, and your story is in there a little bit. I thought what I do is start by reading a little bit of your story from the book, and then we can just kind of take the conversation from there.
Sounds great. Looking forward to it.
So this is coming in the chapter, I think it's chapter 6, where we talk a lot about the pillars of health span. And it starts with the title of this portion is a 46-year health journey. And I'm just going to read from this. So as an example of the impact of that more integrated and holistic approach to health, I wanted to tell the story of Shannon Anderson. Shannon has been working on her health since she was 16. Today, she is a top executive recruiter for a venture capital firm in the ultra-competitive West Coast startup world with a 35-year marriage and 2 grown-up children. She is now in excellent health and loves who she is and what she does. Life is good. But getting to this state of mind, body, and being has been a journey. Shannon grew up in a tumultuous home, first in Colorado, then in San Francisco as a young teen. Eating helped her manage her emotions and the upheavals of her life, but she feared gaining weight and was in a constant battle to avoid negative attention on her looks and the social pressure that came with the casual bullying. When she discovered that she could eat anything she wanted as long as she threw up afterwards, she thought she'd invented the greatest solution to those problems ever. It worked until it didn't. One afternoon, she came home from school to an empty house and did her usual binge purge routine. Then she experienced an explosive pain in her stomach, so excruciating, she thought she was going to die. So that's very powerful. I think it's probably something, maybe not to that level, that a lot of people can relate to. So let's start the story there. Take us back to really where your health journey started. When did you first realize that you wanted to, probably needed to change your relationship with your body and your health?
Well, there's been a couple of what I would call phantom health journeys. I've always mistaken good health for good looks. So in the constant battle for looking right, showing up right, feeling confident about how I look, and we can talk a little bit about why that's important to me, but I did a lot of unhealthy things in the service of that goal. The real health part of that journey started in 2020. So it's now January 2026. Yeah. So I would say 5 years I've been on a health journey.
Would you say
true health?
Yeah. Would you say prior to 2020 that you thought you were on a health journey, but now as you look back, you realize that it really wasn't the path to true health?
Sometimes I knew that what I was doing was creating ill health, but it's the only thing I knew. And so I would kind of have these two parts of my personality. One is knowing that you have to eat well and move well and sleep well, but doing things that weren't actually contributing to that.
Yeah.
And knowingly doing that, but also knowing that as long as I looked right, it was okay. You know, Billy Crystal, many years ago, you might remember, he had this funny line that he said on stage, "Darling, it's better to look good than to feel good."
Right.
And that was I figured if I looked good, then I would feel good. Okay. I know that's weird.
Yeah. No, it's not actually. I think that's actually quite common, and our society reinforces that, particularly I think when we're younger, right?
Yeah.
And maybe more so for women than for men. But I think that's actually very, very common. It's not good for us.
No. And for me, feeling good is different than performing well. And so this is where it's very interesting. My body is, as everybody's body is, it can do miraculous things. It can take all kinds of abuse and recover. And so I could feel pretty good, or what I thought was feeling good, because after a while you forget what really feeling good looks like.
If you haven't for a long time.
Yeah. If I wake up without a headache, I feel great, you know?
Right.
If I can make it through a day, without whatever. But what I noticed was that my body wasn't performing. And this is around 2020 when I thought,
when you say performing, do you mean in terms of like physical performance, or at work, mental performance, or all of that?
All of the above. So not being able to do the things that I wanted to do, going to do the laundry. We get these big mega boxes of laundry soap. And it was taking me 2 hands, 2 arms to like deal with this standard box of laundry soap. And I'm like, what's going on? So just the performance of my body, I was starting to notice failure. And my brain, I wasn't thinking as clearly. I wasn't processing my CPU was slowing down. It was like I had like an overtaxed, memory bank or something. And everything was kind of breaking down: my back, my feet, arthritis, strength training. I wasn't making even when I would strength train, I wasn't making progress is strange. And so weight gain was happening in ways that hadn't before. I wasn't able to lose it. It was impossible. I was like one of these things where people go, I can't lose weight. Like I couldn't lose weight. Yeah. But I was gaining it really easily. So those are where I was kind of getting into performance. My body wasn't doing the things I needed it to do. And that despite all the abuse it had always done, pull all-nighter.
Right. Well, that's the part of getting older, right? Yeah. This resilience component, right?
Yes.
That your body can't recover as quickly.
Yes. And I use my body to the max sometimes. I like to work 12-hour days. I think that's fun. That's good for me. I like that. But my body and my brain were not cooperating with that anymore. It was really frustrating for me. So that's when I noticed I don't feel good. That was when I knew.
Yeah. And I think what you describe, I'm sure almost anybody out there who's, in their 50s or 60s can relate. We all go through these things where you can't necessarily do the things that you used to do easily or recover as quickly from, whether it's a night of partying or whatever. I think a lot of people, though, you sort of alluded to this, because it happens gradually over a long period of time, you don't really notice it the day it's happening, and you sort of forget in many ways what it was like to be able to function at a high level.
Yeah.
Until you return to that.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So I was going to ask you, what did healthy mean to you back then versus what it means to you now? You sort of answered the first part of that. And I'm going to paraphrase and you tell me if this is what you meant. But it sounded like when you were younger, healthy to you meant looking good, looking in the mirror, probably having other people respond to you in a way, that reinforced that you were looking good. How does that differ from what healthy means to you today? Or does it?
I'm not going to lie to you. Okay. So looking good, there's a certain amount of vanity that is just part of who I am. So that's always a factor. If I look good in my clothes, if I can wear what I want, that makes me very happy and it makes me feel confident. Then I don't have to worry about that stuff.
I think it's really important that you said that. I mean, first of all, it's important that you recognize that in yourself. But I think most people feel that way. If you feel like you look the way you want to, it's going to give you that's part of health, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So how does that differ though from how you perceived health 30 years ago?
I grew up in the era of Jane Fonda. Now, I think she's kind of getting to be around 80 years old now, and I'm 63. So, okay. But in my day, Jane Fonda was the epitome of health. And she was the most unhealthy person you can imagine. She was anorexic. She writes about it. She talks about it, bulimic. They didn't have words for this back then, but that's what I was too. And I didn't know that what I was doing is the same thing that everybody else that was trying to achieve this certain kind of health, which is a very, very emaciated, non-muscular, skinny, sort of skinny fat.
Unrealistic. Yeah.
The Farrah Fawcett era where bones were the new muscles are the new bones. Yeah. So the way that I looked at it then is if I'm skinny and I can still do all the things I want, I'm super healthy. I look great. I feel great. I'm healthy. Even if I don't feel good. So even when I create all these stomach problems for myself, I didn't equate that with ill health. I don't know what I equated that with, but I didn't think of that as ill health. Sure. So a little bit later, Madonna comes onto the scene. And Madonna is kind of the muscle version of Jane Fonda. She's working out. She shows off her muscles in her videos. She's all of the things that you kind of equate visually with kind of the body types that are popular today. Mm-hmm. At the same time, though, she was also anorexic.
I was going to ask, do you think that's better necessarily?
No.
Yeah.
It's
different. Yeah.
It's just that what you put out into the world has a little more muscle on that bone, but there's a lot of ill health going on underneath the surface. And Jane Fonda, Madonna, they were young, so you can get away with a lot when you're young. Your skin hasn't started to sag. You've still got a lot of hormones running through your body. You can get away with all kinds of murder. They both smoked. They both drank. I smoked. I drank. I did all the things, right? So when I looked at Madonna, I was like, okay, so she's got some muscle, but she's also eating rice cakes for breakfast, lunch, and dinner and popcorn. And so that's what I did. And so on the surface, I aspired to that look, and I did whatever I needed to do to achieve it. So now, fast forward, we've got Beyonce, and, skinny butts were in then, big butts are in now, but there's still this body dysmorphia that's going on in the world. And we can maybe talk about that a little bit more if you want. But
definitely.
When I think about health, I always thought about if I look like that, then I'm healthy. Jane Fonda pounded it into my head that this was a healthy lifestyle. So I didn't know any different.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about how you perceive the situation today then, right? Again, I think culture has changed, but there's still a lot of these unrealistic expectations. And again, it's a little bit different for men and women, young women and young men, probably more pronounced for women than men, but I think men experience this as well. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on the way that people are being programmed, for lack of a better way of saying it, to think about their bodies and how that equates to health? And maybe let's start with pop culture, but also I think this is maybe important to talk about in the context of, longevity or wellness, because I think we're seeing a lot of longevity influencers that also have unrealistic body types, body expectations.
Yes.
Doing a lot of artificial things that may or may not be healthy to look a certain way.
Mm-hmm. I do, and I'm sure you will hit on longevity and what that means to me. But I don't think what we're seeing today in social media and all the influencers is any different than Jane Fonda and Madonna and all that. No different whatsoever. It's shocking. And then you've also got this whole body positivity thing. And it's like, how can you say body positivity when you're abusing your body to achieve a look that makes you camera ready for social media? It's no different. It's just weaponized, advertisers, they're weaponizing our insecurities to get us to buy stuff that is or is not healthy. Yeah. AG1, you got all kinds of these products that are just garbage, in the name of health.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to ask you, can you give some specific, you said abusing our bodies. In your mind, what are some of the things that you see people doing that are not consistent with health, but maybe are being done to look a certain way or to be perceived a certain way?
Yeah. I mean, you probably have many, many more examples of this, but the things that hit my radar and that I kind of go, maybe I'll try that because I still have this sickness, this sickness.
It's totally normal. Maybe it's a sickness that we all have.
Okay. I've always felt a little odd man out with that, but so it's good to hear. AG1, I mentioned that it's this health supplement. You put it
green.
Oh my
powder.
God.
Yeah.
I bought some of that stuff and it was just garbage. It was full of artificial this, artificial that. It was completely ultra processed. And I thought, you're using the longevity movement. You're using all these other things to convince me that this is going to help me get to where I want to go. B1 vitamin shots. I think that there's a certain amount of that kind of eating that can work well with somebody's body and how they think and how they work and how their metabolism, whatever. But I see people doing extreme things in the name of health, and that's one of them. Where I know somebody right now that's doing that, and they're not eating for 12 hours, and then they're doing this extreme workout, and then when they finally eat, they're feeling half dead. Their brain isn't functioning properly, but their blood work looks good.
Yeah. It's super interesting that you say that and that you equate it to your experience when you were younger, because I tend to agree. I mean, I think intermittent fasting is a good example where for some people, or time restricted eating, depending on how long you want to fast for some people, when approached in what I would consider a moderate, reasonable way, that can be a useful habit to control overeating, right? And many people take it to extremes and it becomes the sort of binge purge cycle, just a little bit of a different variation on that. And the same thing with exercise, right? Going to extremes. And so I think that's a really insightful comment that, most people wouldn't think of intermittent fasting as comparable to a binge purge, right? But in some ways it is for many people, right? Or can be taken that far.
I've never really thought of it that way before, but that's exactly what I was doing when I was going through my binge purge life.
Right. It reminds me of an interesting story I remember. It's interesting to me, at least, because it struck me at the time. There was this group of people called the Calorie Restriction Society who talked about their experiences trying to practice, 40% caloric restriction chronically because they thought it would make them live longer. And I remember there was this whole thread on their discussion forum. It was a term that had the word chewing in it. But anyways, basically what they were doing was they were eating their food, chewing it up so they would get the taste, and then spitting it out so they wouldn't get their calories. Yeah. And they were saying this was a longevity approach because they could practice caloric restriction, but still have the, whatever the psychological effect is of chewing their food, right? But that is, many people would consider an eating disorder. And so where does it cross the line is very individual. But I think a lot of people who are really, for the right reasons, trying to incorporate a longevity lifestyle, but because of the way it gets skewed by social media and influencers, it ends up becoming a problem for them.
Yeah, it does. Like all of this is not new, right? None of this is new. I seriously thought I invented what I later learned was anorexia. Yeah. I thought I invented bulimia, which was the best invention ever. You can eat whatever you want. You purge it through a variety of either vomiting or through laxatives or whatever. I invented it. People still think they're inventing this stuff. It's not rocket science. You you want to do things to get you to a certain goal that most of the time are a shortcut that doesn't work. And that's the other thing, is this stuff doesn't work over the long run. Right? It gets you svelte for a wedding, but it doesn't give you extended health.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really what it comes down to is this a lifestyle or set of habits or whatever you want to call it that you can and should maintain for decades that's going to get you to where you want to be both today and 20, 30 years from now, right? And those extreme sort of approaches, especially when they verge into the psychological disorders, are, first of all, not sustainable and are not going to be conducive to long-term health.
Yeah.
But understanding for you where that balance is really hard sometimes. And some of these things like intermittent fasting is a great example, may start from a kernel of legitimacy, and it can work well in certain contexts. But as soon as you cross that line, it becomes detrimental.
Right.
And a lot
body
of people
hacking.
have a hard
and body
time
hacking.
seeing that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's very hard not to get extreme about these things when you've got a lot of messaging in your ear. There's always people, Tim Ferriss and other people that are doing these extreme things to their body.
Tim's a friend of mine, so I'm not going to blast him.
No, I love Tim. I love his stuff. And I feel like he's over the years. I feel like the messaging is a little more balanced, but people, even if the message is being sent in a responsible way, people will take whatever they hear and make it work for them.
I think that's what's important. And I think people who are at the level of a Tim Ferriss or a Peter Attia, also a friend of mine, right, may not all, and I don't, and I have a much smaller audience than they do, may not realize how something they say or something they're trying gets taken by other people as, oh my God, this is a great thing, I should do this, and then gets taken to extremes. And so I think that's again another feature of the kind of social media world that we live in. So I don't want to spend a lot more time on this. I think we've made it clear how we feel about a lot of the messaging that's out there. I do think it is worth talking about, though. I think there are some influencers in this space who basically have built their empire on extremes, right? And talking about, a blueprint for longevity that involves hundreds of supplements and all these tests. And again, maybe that works for that one individual. I don't think it does, but I think it's harmful when that gets popularized and other people start trying to adopt it. And that's exactly feeding into, I think, what we've been talking about, this sort of psychological anxiety and disorders that in a lot of people develop.
Yeah. And I think those of us that do develop these disorders would develop them anyway. Now we're just getting a lot of help.
Yeah, right. And other people are making money off of it.
Well, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
And we have lots of disposable income. We create disposable income. And so, yeah.
So, I mean, what would be your advice then to people who are susceptible or who are experiencing this? What has worked for you to recognize, when you're starting to go down that path?
One of the greatest gifts for me was aging. I know that sounds weird, but at some point, what was going on in the inside started showing up on the outside, and I wasn't looking as good. And I equate what I did in that situation to taking a wall in a home that's been pockmarked with holes and dents and, all these things. And instead of preparing that wall and sanding it down and smoothing it out and getting it in, good health, making sure there's no mold underneath the surface and all the things that you would do, instead of doing that, you just slather on some paint over the bumps and the lumps, and you pick a color that isn't going to show the bumps and the lumps as much, and you pick lighting that hides that. That's what I was starting to do. So I saw a picture of myself these 5 years ago or so, and I had a horrible color of hair because I was dyeing my hair to hide the gray and to have the hair color that I had when my skin matched the hair and my facial features hadn't started falling or whatever. I had these ridiculously long and thick fake eyelashes. I was buying really expensive clothes that I could tailor to make me look great. I saw that picture of myself and I thought, you look like a clown. And that's when I realized that the things I was doing in the name of health weren't even working anymore because it was showing up on the outside. And I realized the only way that I'm going to stop that, fix that, address that is either by doing more of the painting or say plastic surgery, etc., or start working on this problem from the inside out for real. And I looked at my wallet and I thought, I probably need to start doing the more cost-effective thing, which is working on this thing from the inside out. And it's working out really well for me now.
That's
I look
awesome.
a lot better in my pictures than I did 5 years ago,
And
even
you
though
feel
I'm 5 years older.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, that's super. I'm just really glad you shared that because that's super, super powerful. And again, I think, unfortunately, particularly in the longevity wellness space, there's a lot of glorification of the cosmetic, the surface, right? And again, you see a lot of these influencers who are doing plastic surgery, doing Botox, doing whatever, putting their makeup on, and again, that's fine. Like, I think if those things help give you confidence as an individual and that makes you feel better, great. Doing those things and not focusing on the inside health, the pillars of health, I think for most people is not going to be a long-term strategy.
Right, it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
It really isn't.
Yeah.
And then when you combine that with, I'm not getting the performance from my body that I wanted. I'm not getting those 12 hours of work, of high productivity work. You put all that together and I was just like, nope.
Okay, great. Let's talk a little bit about physical fitness. So I know you do resistance training, you do regular weight training, right? So I think obviously I'm a big fan of resistance training. Everybody should be doing it.
You want to arm wrestle?
I know you'd probably beat me.
I would.
I think women in particular are often concerned that if they lift weights, they're going to get all muscular and bulk up. You clearly lift. What would you say to women who are concerned about that?
It's true. There are people that worry about this. I get asked about it all the time. I would say, don't worry about it. You're never going to bulk up unless you start taking testosterone hormones to the level that a professional bodybuilder would take. Right. It's not going to happen. And the good news is that if somehow it did, it doesn't take long for your body to shed that muscle. Especially at my age, I feel like if I take 3 weeks off, yeah. I've literally lost a pound of muscle, and
Yeah, the challenge is getting the muscle on and keeping it there, not.
Yeah. So if you wake up in
the
morning and you're like, oh, I look like the Hulk, then it's really easy to correct that.
Yeah, but have you ever built muscle that you're like, oh my God, I don't want that muscle there.
No. And I have some fun stories about muscles because I've always been one of these people that my body type was my glutes. That's your butt muscles, right?
Yeah.
I always had like a flat butt. Like this was popular back in the Farrah Fawcett, Jane Fonda era. But now, everybody's like big butts, I like big
Sir Mix-a-Lot.
Yeah. And so my husband is constantly going, I can't believe that's you, because I've been able to, without getting butt implants or any other kind of implants, I've been able to actually change the shape of my body so that I'm actually starting to approach the ideal female body. Because when your muscles are built in the way, kind of proportionally, not doing anything fake, not doing anything extreme. Like I don't work on my butt for 10 hours a week. I work on my butt for, 15 minutes a week, probably total. But my whole body has changed shape in all of the right ways and none of the bad ways. It's crazy.
I think there's a few things to unpack there. One is like nobody's ever won a bodybuilding competition without trying, right? So that's not going to happen. You don't have to worry about it.
No.
But also by getting physically fit, and I think in particular resistance training is an important part of that. It's not everything, but it's an important part of that. By building sufficient muscle, the way you look is going to change in a way that we as humans have evolved to think of as healthy, right? So when you talk about the ideal sort of body shape, first of all, whatever that is, I don't know. But I think fundamentally, at least at a cultural level, right? But fundamentally, as human beings, we have evolved to look at people. And if somebody looks healthy, that's ideal, right? And so I think that's what you're picking up on, is the shape that you achieve when you focus on health is what we as humans have evolved to perceive as a good thing, as the ideal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And so that's the visual aspect of women are afraid they're going to bulk up. So let's just say, don't worry about that. It's not going to happen. If you're lucky, it'll happen.
I mean, has there ever actually been a woman that you know of who started lifting weights and had that experience? Like, I don't think I've never heard of that. Right. So I just don't think it's something that people need to worry about. No,
because the bulk isn't what you're going to see. You're going to see definition.
Yeah.
You're going to see, as women age, our everybody's skin gets looser. The muscle fills out what our bodies have lost a little bit of, like, I guess, fat cells or whatever. But the nice thing is it fills out those baggy areas of your body. But no, nobody has ever bulked up no, I don't know.
By accident.
And I try.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to ask me what I lift and how much
that's what I was going to do next.
I got it
what's
from
your
my trainer.
Routine? Yeah.
Okay, I have to look at my thing. You want to hear my routine?
Sure.
So I got it from my trainer. So Nick used to be my trainer.
Yeah.
Nick here at Optispan, but he abandoned me. And so
he got a better deal.
Yeah. So you can ask me some details, and he's got some technical stuff here. But
so first of all, high level, like how many times a week do you do resistance training? What else do you do other than resistance training?
So people often ask me, oh my God, you spend all day at the gym every day. No wonder you're having so much success. I spend 3 hours a week resistance training. I'm meaning
good for you.
At the gym, weightlifting. That's it. No more, no less. Maybe a little bit less. Maybe it's 50 minutes times 3.
Sure.
To get phenomenal results. That's it. In the summer, I ride my bike.
Is that 3 workouts, basically?
Monday,
Wednesday, about 50
Friday.
minutes each. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
With a trainer.
Yep.
And I think it's important to know that with a trainer, you get proper lifting methods. I'm not hurting myself. And he is also putting the weights on and off. So while I'm recovering, he's switching out the weights. Mm-hmm. So I get a lot of efficiency by working with a trainer that if I were working with myself, I'd probably have to budget an hour and a half to get that same workout. Okay. So that's important to understand.
Yeah. And I think it's worth saying. I mean, it's great that you said that. I would only add, I don't think a trainer is necessary.
No.
But it can bring value for sure for the reasons that you said. And also because you will get that sort of real-time feedback if something's kind of going off track a little bit.
Yeah.
But absolutely not. I don't have a trainer. I haven't had a trainer, period. Maybe I'd do better if I did, but I feel like I'm doing okay. Although I have had a lot of false starts and had to figure a lot of stuff out on my own. So I do think there's value to having a trainer.
I do too. I think
not essential.
If I was going to tell somebody one thing to do, I would say, get yourself a trainer for 6 sessions or 7 or 10 or whatever it is to understand your body. Our bodies are like as complicated as flying a helicopter. And I wouldn't get in a helicopter and try to fly it by myself. But when we go to the gym and we don't really know what we're doing, and I hurt myself. I have so many injuries from training myself in my younger years and otherwise. And I also have hundreds of hours wasted at the gym doing shit that doesn't work. And so the trainer for me is my one investment, and I can work out by myself now if I need to. I have all the tools that I need.
Sure.
And I do, but
I like the way you said that too, that it's an investment. And again, I think it's important to think about what you do in the realm of longevity as an investment in your health and your future and the time you get to spend with the people you want to spend it with, doing the things you want to do.
Yeah, the trade-off is there. You have to make the trade-off. Yeah. I actually consciously sat down and I made the trade-off. Okay, false eyelashes, hair, all the things that I was
Which
doing.
was also an investment.
Oh my God, you wouldn't believe it. Painting over the wall.
Yeah.
But other things that were kind of oh, I'm so tired. Let's go on vacation. There's a lot of things that I was spending money on to make myself feel better and look better, that I completely diverted those funds into my longevity, my personal training, my food, and I'm spending less money now than I was before. And I makeup, you name it. And I look in the mirror and I look at the difference, even over if I look at a 20-year period of time, I can see I've almost turned that clock back. I mean, I'm 63. I don't look 43, but I'm not doing too bad.
Yeah, you're doing great.
So I'm really, really happy with that. So anyway, we were going to talk about my workout routine.
So you work out, you do resistance training 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And then you started to talk about what else you do. Let's just cover that real quickly.
So I'll ride my bike 3 or 4 times a week. I have an e-bike, but I'll take it all up and down hills. And so I'll get really good
Which
cardio.
We have plenty of those around here.
Yeah. And then I'm active, but that's it. Like, that is it. People don't believe me. They're like, you must, spend all day long at the gym and you must be a biker and you ride 30 miles a day. No, I am not any of that. I'm an indoor girl and I just make really good use of the time that I spend. It's all about efficiency.
And probably also eat a relatively healthy diet. I mean, this stuff we can talk more about that. You're like, well, I don't know about that.
No, I'm rolling my eyes because that is maybe one of the things I'm most known for is my healthy diet.
Yeah.
So I eat super well.
So let's come back to that. Okay. Let's cover exercise first. Yeah. But I think it's just useful to and I mean, again, for people who, like me, finally, after 50 years, figured it out, you'll hear people say it's exercise alone isn't going to get you there, right? It's when you get the exercise dialed in, you get the diet dialed in, you work on your sleep, then everything comes together.
Yes.
Right? It's not just one of them.
It's not just one thing. Yeah. No.
Okay. So let's talk about what you do for resistance training. Because again, I think this is important because particularly for women, again, I think there's a lot of misinformation, misunderstanding about what it takes to be successful. So you've been successful. What worked for you?
Yeah. So there are basically like a series of 7 or something exercises that we do. And we can get into a whole bunch of, like, you can name these things better than me. But the RDLs, barbell back squat to a box.
And this is what you do on one day?
This is what I'll do. Yeah. A box.
So deadlifts, squats.
Those are different days, actually. So RDL, barbell back squat to a box, hip thrust, planks, lat pull downs, DB bench press, reverse hyperextensions. And then we can just talk about, like, there's 3 days of the week. The one day is the main lower body exercises, which is where the barbell back squat, the barbell Romanian deadlift, the split squats, leg extension, and then main upper body exercises are lat pull downs, dumbbell, barbell flat, and incline press, seated rows, face pulls, bicep curls, tricep extensions. I mean, I could go on through.
And that's a single workout that day?
I think what we do is break these across 3.
Oh, okay.
So on a typical Monday, it'll be, I always know what's coming. We're going to do squats. We're going to do leg extensions. We're going to do lat pull downs. We're going to do these things.
Like a row of some sort, or press down?
Yes. The
triceps.
Yes, tricep. And then we're going to do some kind of core. We're going to do, like, I'll do a 2.5 minute plank.
Yeah.
Which is a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't do that when I woke up one day. We had to build up to that. Hanging, try to get 90 seconds, do some core work. So it's not like we're doing a bunch of crazy stuff every day. We're not doing a bunch of...
And you do this in 50 minutes, right?
50 minutes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think, so it's good.
I can send this to you too,
sure,
if you want.
It's good to have this conversation, though, because I think part of probably what some people out there are hearing, there's probably some people out there, particularly guys who are into weightlifting, who are like, yeah, you're doing it right? There's probably some women out there who are like, oh my God, that sounds...
What is that?
That's scary.
Super scary.
Yeah,
I'm reading this to you because I don't even know the name. I've been working out in this, and I don't even know. I'll go, let's do the monkey bar things.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is where I think a couple things. One is we're having a trainer who can walk you through it and help you develop a program is very reassuring. It helps with that anxiety. And also, it's worth just saying that's a fairly sophisticated program. You don't need to have that level of sophistication, particularly at first, to get really, really solid gains, right? You know, for a long time, I was doing this very basic workout called 5x5. You do 3 exercises, 5 sets of 5, and that's your workout, right? And you just hit the main exercises: bench press, squat, row.
Yes.
Boom, done.
Yep.
I mean, it still takes an hour or so. So it doesn't have to be that level of sophistication to be very successful. And I think what you said about having a trainer at first is really important. You want to make sure you're doing it right. You want to make sure you're not going to injure yourself, especially if you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, where injuries are easier to have happen and take longer to recover from. Having somebody show you how to do it that isn't a YouTube influencer is probably a good strategy. Especially
as you get older with the injury. I injure myself so easily. I look in the mirror and I think I got this right, and I don't. So my ability to connect what I'm doing to injury is hard for me. And I'll find out the next day or the day after that, oh my God, I've separated my shoulder on a leg press because I didn't know that. And so for me, I just really need somebody to say, lean forward a little bit. I have herniated discs in my neck and in my back. I've got arthritis in several places. I've got a meniscus situation going on. So I really need somebody to I'll say, hey, I'm kind of feeling funny from this last workout. What should we do to adjust? Because I can't figure that out by myself. Yeah.
Do you have any recommendations on how people can find a good trainer?
Oh, yes, I do. I think it's really important for me, okay, I recruited somebody. First, I met Nick, and Nick showed me what I need in a trainer. He was in the earlier stage of his career. He's scientific about the body and about strength training, resistance training. He understands what works and what doesn't work. He understands efficiency of movement. So you don't need to do these 10 little fancy things. You do just one thing. And passion. So when I lost Nick, I literally wrote a job description for somebody that met these criteria. And then I interviewed people, and I met this kid. His name is Jack Donnelly, and I work with him now. And I call him Dr. Frankenstein, because he is so scientific about how he approaches my body. And yesterday he goes, okay, we're going to do 3 sets of 6. And I'm like, oh, I know what you're up to. You're moving me from this weight. You're going to move me forward now. You're going to start, instead of, 265-pound hip thrust, we're going to start doing 275. I just know what's going on. I know. But he doesn't tell me. He doesn't freak me out about it. But he is methodical and scientific about it. And he doesn't look at me as a 63-year-old woman who needs to be babied. He looks at me as somebody who is a package that is at this place and can do this and wants to move forward slowly and carefully. Yeah. So he doesn't coddle me. He doesn't hurt me. And he's a career trainer. Like, this is what he wants to do. But after a few years, folks get a little tired of training. They probably get a little worn out. So I always want to get somebody that's early in the career. So yeah, I have a job description for that. If you'd like me to share it with you.
Right, great.
I actually
maybe we'll put it on the show notes and people can see.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. I'm a recruiter by profession. Yeah. So
yeah,
it just comes
that's
naturally.
actually, it's actually an interesting strategy that I think probably hasn't occurred to most people, which is that you're really interviewing your trainer. Don't just necessarily take the person who's at the gym that you're a member of, and just because it's convenient, right?
That's right. Yeah. Right. And this is a person, when I was recruiting him, I'd been indoctrinated a little bit by Nick, but I'm not in your business. Like, I'm a client of yours, but I don't speak your language. I don't really understand all the nuances, but what I understand is I need somebody that understands what the hell they're doing and cares about what they're doing, and will make sure I don't get hurt and make sure I grow. And I also tell him let's get me as bulky as possible. Like I want
That's what you want. Yeah.
I want to be the Hulk. And he laughs and goes, that's never going to be possible. And I'm like, but can we try?
Yeah.
And so we try. And as you and I talked about earlier, it's never going to happen. Even though I'm on hormone replacement therapy and I've seen in some cases 100% improvement in my, even just what I can lift.
Yeah.
And my muscle mass has increased in not in ounces, but in pounds because of this combination. So
let's double click on that because I think a lot of people certainly appreciate that when men go on testosterone therapy, that can have a positive impact on body composition and muscle mass. I think it's less appreciated the impact that hormone therapy can have for women. So maybe you can talk a little bit about what your experience has been. Other
than going to the gym, I would say, and I hate to say going to the gym, like I call it gymboree. I call it recess. The gym just sounds like work. Anyway.
Actually, that's really a positive thing. I think putting a positive spin and enjoying exercise is really a great way to be able to stick with it.
It's true. Like on my calendar, it says gymboree.
Yeah, that's great.
It doesn't say gym, doesn't say workout. It's playtime for me. It's recess. That's a very important mind shift. Okay, so to the hormones. So through your program here at Optispan, we took a data-driven approach and you guys shined a light on something that was life-changing. Wow. Is my hormone levels were so low that it's kind of amazing that I was even, alive.
And were you on any hormones when you came into the Optispan program? Okay.
No. And so I'm in that generation of women that I was told you can't do hormone replacement because you will get breast cancer. And so I had to fight and fight and fight when I was in perimenopause to get somebody to give me a patch. So this is the estrogen patch. And that was in my 40s. And it was a game changer for me at that point in terms of two things that were bothering me, night sweats and hot flashes. They were debilitating. Like I was sweating into the extreme that at work, people thought that I was having a panic attack. People thought that I was unsure. It was eroding people's confidence in me because I was sweating like a pig. And I would tell people, no, this is just, I am not nervous. Okay. I'm not having anxiety. I know what I'm doing and I'm comfortable with it.
I'm going through a normal biological process.
Yeah. But I'm dripping and sweating all over the floor. Yeah. It was terrible. And I'm not exagerating when I talk about that. People still remember.
So you had very severe menopause symptoms. Yeah.
And so I was finally able to talk a doctor into giving me the patch, hormone patch. And like life got so much better. But after 5 years, they're like, okay, well, you have to go off of it now because of this breast cancer thing. And I said,
which is wrong, by the way. I'm sure everybody watching already knows that.
It's wrong. Yeah. And I said, I will risk breast cancer for the benefits that I'm getting. And they would not allow me to do it. And so when I came to Optispan and y'all suggested that I meet with a homeopathic doctor who specialized in women's medicine and also regular medicine. Like that was a misconception I have. We can talk about that later. But so she put me on hormone replacement, estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. Yeah. And I was a little freaked out about the testosterone because I'm like, okay, last time I tried a little something like this, it wasn't good, but nobody knew.
So you tried testosterone before?
Yeah, many, many years prior for some reason or another. I think because my husband and I thought it would help my sex drive. And it was unmanaged. It wasn't managed properly. And I got hairy and which is actually something that a lot of women are concerned about. And if you get the dose wrong, I mean, those are real side effects. Yeah. So side effects are, more hirsute, more hair growth in places that you don't want, except hair loss in your hairline. But there are some major benefits. So sexual health is definitely something that most men and women think that women are just kind of frigid. Like women just don't have interest in sex, except for the odd person who does. Right. But most of us, even ourselves, were like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? It causes more divorces, I think, than money and any other thing you can imagine.
And you're talking about the hormonal changes that go along with perimenopause and menopause here.
Yeah. So you get a better sex drive, you get better sexual pleasure, the muscle growth, and therefore strength, and therefore stability, and therefore ability to do things that you couldn't do last time I could do some of these things is when I was 25. All of these things, there's no amount of work I can do at the gym that would help me make the progress that I've made with the testosterone and the gym.
And when you combine the two, I think it's like, exactly.
It's incredible. Like my DEXA scan, you guys have my last DEXA scan. And I have put on some weight, and I'm a woman, and I look at the scale and I'm like, oh my God, Jane Fonda says, I should only weigh 110.
Yeah, screw her.
I put on weight, and with the DEXA scan, it showed me that I've put on something like a pound and a half of muscle on each side of my body.
Isn't that cool?
And while I weigh more, my clothes fit better,
and your percent body fat is probably less.
It's so much less. And that's the other thing is my body fat has gone down. Yeah. So there's just the only negative for me is the hair stuff, but it's worth it.
Yeah. I mean, again, I'm just really glad you said so many things today that I think it's just great to hear you say, because it's something that a lot of people need to hear and appreciate. What you just said is a common refrain that I hear a lot from women about hormone therapy in general, but testosterone in particular. Yeah. And also that you can kill yourself in the gym. You can eat the best possible diet. For some people, if your hormones are dysregulated, you're not going to see the changes that you expect to see. But hormones on their own aren't going to give you everything that you're after either. But when you put the two together, it's life-changing.
It is like some kind of miracle.
It feels that way. Yeah.
It really does. Yeah. And when we talk about the estrogen piece of it, that's where my homeopathic doctor said, Kim Selmer, she said,
Kim's been on the podcast.
Oh, I know. She's amazing. I love her. I don't know what I would do without this whole program, but she said to me, your brain craves estrogen. And one thing, the main thing I noticed with the estrogen was that my CPU on my brain, my central processing unit, is super fast again. I'm not struggling to keep up. I'm not having trouble with my memory.
It's the brain fog that people talk about, right?
It's completely hormones. And so our bodies, I guess, I'm sure you're a scientist, you know all the reasons why our bodies deplete, but longevity is a thing, and you can't live a long and healthy life without, I think, these hormones in your system, and you have to put them in there.
Certainly quality of life, I think, is for many people. Again, don't want to say for everyone. There are some people, for reasons we don't understand, that don't experience the same symptoms that a lot of people do, a lot of women do when they go through menopause. But for a lot of women, a huge hit to quality of life, and we can fix it.
Yes. And I was always worried, if I go on hormone replacement, I'll gain weight. Like, this is just the same bullshit that they've been feeding me.
Yeah, gain weight and get cancer.
Gain weight and get cancer. Like, well, I don't want that. Yeah. So I don't know, but it's been one of the miracles I've experienced since working with you all here at Optispan.
I know it's kind of great to hear that.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
So we started to talk about diet. Let's touch on that quickly. And so what do you do? What are your sort of principles that you apply around nutrition?
There's this whole school of thought about tracking macros, and I do a bit of that, but I'm a little bit more. I have some subcategories of macros that I pay attention to more than just macros. So if we just talk about it on that level at first, I try to get 100, my body weight in protein. Mm-hmm. I know there's,
so 1 gram per pound of body weight.
Yeah.
Yep.
So whether that's around 120, 125, that's how much I wish I weighed 125 is what I really weighed. I wish I was 115 because I'm still anorexic. But anyway, 125.
But you don't want to lose 10 pounds of muscle mass.
No, because that's the other thing, Matt, is I was talking, okay, we'll talk about food in a second, but I got to divert. So I was looking at my arms, and when my arms are down, you see these veins?
Yeah. Look at that.
It's terrible, though.
No,
when I put my arm down,
you want to see
terrible.
the veins.
So I was at my kitchen table, and we were eating, and I'm walking around, and they're popping out.
You got to be proud of those things. Look at that.
My veins look like yours when I'm doing any kind of exertion. And I'm like, what is wrong with me? I went to my daughter and I said, am I having a hallucination? This is gross. And it is because my body fat is so low.
You need to change your mindset
now.
You need to change your mindset.
Well, now I'm like...
Veins are sexy, man.
Are they?
I think
women?
so.
So I just kind of look at that and go, okay, that's fine. So let's getting back to food. So 125 grams of protein, 75 grams of fiber. So a lot of people count carbs.
Yeah, that's a lot of fiber by standard recommendation.
Right. And but for me, if I'm counting carbs, there's so many, all carbs are not alike.
Absolutely.
So when I focus on fiber, that means I'm focusing on the right carbs. Right. And then no more than 30, 40 grams of sugar. Mm-hmm. And that includes natural sugar. Okay. So those are the macros that I pay attention to.
And do you track? Or, or did you for a time and now you kind of know enough that you don't have to track?
A little bit. Like I have a Fitbit. And the Fitbit, that particular program works well for me. I had the Oura Ring. I've tried the Apple Watch, whatever. But this one works best for me in terms of tracking my food and my steps and my calorie burn in and out and things like that, my sleep. So it will give me my macros, and then I drill down and I look at the fiber. Because I've noticed when I say, okay, I'm going to eat, equal amounts of protein and carbohydrate, let's just say I'm going to 33% of each. Mm-hmm. I end up eating the wrong kind of fat, and I end up eating mostly the wrong kind of carbs because I'm like, okay, well, I can have 20 grams. But that might be I'm eating bread. That doesn't mean I'm eating vegetables. And so if I focus on fiber, and I don't even worry about fat.
Great. Yeah, I think that's a good strategy. It works for you. I'm interested to know where does most of your fiber come from? Because I think for a lot of people, they're going to be like 75 grams. Oh my God, how would I ever get that much fiber?
You must be in the bathroom all the time,
Yeah, that's probably a good point. Don't start at 75.
No. I would say that most of my fiber comes from, vegetables. I eat a lot of things like kale. So that's high, and legumes have a decent amount of protein. I eat certain kind of protein bars that have fiber. And so some of this is processed fiber.
Yes, I think that's a good thing to talk about, though. A lot of the protein bars these days do have a high amount of fiber. And so, ultra processed foods, bad word, don't talk about it, don't ever eat it. I mean, I think that's an oversimplification. I do too. I'm interested to hear your philosophy and how you approach that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I do have protein bars that I eat that have a lot of fiber in them. And I know that that's some kind of processed fiber, but it counts for me as long as like I don't look and I'm like, okay, that's all I ate all day, right? I'll let myself have one, maybe two protein bars depending on the day. But the protein bars I eat are a brand that is mostly all natural ingredients.
You can share the brand if you want.
It's Sakara, S-A-K-A-R-A. It's like a foo-foo brand.
S-A-K-A-R-A. Okay.
So what I've done is I've taken they've got these metabolism bars and they're yummy too, but they also have the ingredients. So I've taken the ingredients, I put it into ChatGPT and I said, make a recipe for me so I can reproduce these at home. So now I reproduce them at home. And so I have all the ingredients that like I think cellulose is a fiber, different things like that. So I can put that in. Just lots of vegetables, Matt. Yeah. I mean, I eat.
Do you supplement with any fiber? Like you can get psyllium husk or
No, I have like irritable bowel syndrome, so I have to be really careful about what I put in my body. I can't do dairy and I can't do eggs.
Have you noticed a change in your IBS since you have gotten more healthy?
No.
Oh, interesting. No, okay. That's one of the big things I noticed, from 5 years ago to now through my 40s, a lot of irritable bowel
Really?
stuff going on. Oh yeah, my wife was like, "What is wrong with
I
you?"
know, same here.
But now it's completely gone. And part of that's probably less alcohol consumption, but most of it is diet related.
Yeah. Well, and so when I say no, I say, because for me, it was the milk and the eggs that were just like inflammation crazy, you know? But I do notice that I will have to say this, that my recovery from an episode is much quicker because I don't have a bunch of inflammation in my body, which translates to my, digestive system. So I say no, but I probably actually am experiencing a lot less because, I can cheat a little bit and not end up being, having an episode for a week. I'll have an episode for a day. So yeah. Probably.
So do you find on your diet, are there general principles that you've applied? So you said get enough fiber. I'm sure you watch added sugars, lots of vegetables, anything else that you would put in that, and then trying to hit your protein targets.
Yeah, I try to only eat, other than the protein bars, which are plant protein, because I can't eat whey, which is, I really try to have protein. My principles are animal protein at every meal.
Okay.
And fresh vegetables.
And why
meal.
animal protein at every meal? What's the rationale there?
I don't have a rationale other than Peter Attia said I should. So that's really why.
Yeah.
But I also just find
I don't think there's a problem with it,
easier.
Especially in the context of a high quality diet.
Yeah.
was just wondering.
No,
Okay.
And I'm not a vegetarian. I'm not a vegan. So I don't want to go through all so I just feel like that's a very reliable way for me to get my protein. And I love beef. I love pork. I love chicken. And the way that I do this is my husband does this for me. Actually, we bake chicken breast, skinless, boneless. And then we throw it in a food processor with a bunch of kale, some carrots, bell peppers, maybe some dried currants, whatever, anything we can to make it a little sweet potato. And we make a giant batch of this stuff. And then we slap it into these high protein, high fiber tortillas. And we pre-make all these foods. So one of my principles is always have food ready to eat that's natural and as naked as possible. So the protein bars are emergency, and everything else I eat is, whole food. So whole foods. I guess that's one of my principles.
I think that's great. I'm glad you said that, because I think that's a really easy rule of thumb.
Yeah.
Once people understand what a whole food is. And again, not all whole foods are great, right? But I think in general, if you had to pick a rule, that's a good rule.
The closest to its natural state as possible.
Yeah.
So even a cooked vegetable versus a raw, I'd always try to, and it's hard, but people are, how do you do that? Well, I blend it up and I put some vegan mayonnaise in there and I throw some fun flavors in there and I make it taste good.
Find what works for you. Yeah.
And then I make it easy for me to eat.
Great.
So that's it. And I eat 6 times a day.
So I think the rule that you said about always having good food on hand, super powerful. I assume you've practiced the flip side, which is don't have a bunch of garbage in the house. That's one of the things for us that was very impactful.
Yeah. My husband loves to eat garbage. So this is a constant battle. And, if there's a cake in the house, he'll eat it. So we will kind of periodically have some stuff in the house.
Do a cleanse.
I'll go in and I'll just throw it all away. And that really helps.
We just did that after the holidays with all the family over. We had a lot of garbage left over.
Yeah, I try not to have too much garbage in the house. And then the other thing is I'll let myself eat some garbage sometimes.
Yeah, I think that's actually good. I'm glad you said that. Yeah,
it's
you don't have to be perfect. You shouldn't be perfect.
No, because I get really bored of eating these things. But people know me like the woman that brings her own lunch everywhere, even to a restaurant. So I make it easy for me. How do you get all that protein? I end up eating too much protein most of the time.
You think so? Huh?
I do. Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, I ate 130 grams of protein today. That's probably more than I need. And it's probably hard on my kidneys or whatever. Right. So it's not hard to get protein when you eliminate all the other stuff that fills up your stomach.
Right.
Do
you have a calorie target?
I try to eat the same amount that I burn, unless I'm trying to
bulk up or lose weight.
Yeah, I never am really trying to bulk up, but I'll run at a 400 calorie deficit when I need to lose a couple pounds of fat, like over the holidays or whatever. But typically I'm just not in that place because
but you more or less know what your target is, or at least ballpark.
For me,
how much food
right now it's about 1,500 calories a day on average.
Okay.
When I'm doing a lot of walking, it's 1,500 or it's 2,000. Okay. So if I'm getting my 10,000 steps, it's 2,000. If I'm having a sedentary moment, it's 1,500. And that used to be more like 1,300 but I've gained so much muscle that my muscle is almost 1,600 a day, actually.
Just for your
my
basal.
muscle's like, my muscle's just burning more calories so I can eat more.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, that's a bonus for sure.
I know. For a woman, like 300 extra calories is like, woo,
So I want to talk a bit about your hormone experience and your experience at Optispan. I just want to talk a little bit about what your experience has been like and what was it that made you want to, really take this next step, right? And take control of your health. And you sort of alluded to it, but, was there an event in particular that kind of led you to like, okay, now is the time when I'm really I'm going to lean in?
Yeah. I was working out this was before Nick Arapis joined you all here, and he and I were working at a different gym. He was my trainer, and a couple of conversations happened, but the first time I ever heard the word longevity was when I wanted to do something really fancy in the gym. I don't remember what. Like I wanted to lift something really heavy, or I talked to him about maybe doing powerlifting or something like that. And he goes, you have to make a trade-off, especially at your age, between achieving some like amazing thing and longevity. So you've only got just so much wear and tear your body can take. And if you decide that you want to do this extreme sport over here or this extreme kind of lift, then you are trading off your longevity of that joint, that part of your body. Like maybe, you're going to create injury there that is going to shorten your longevity. I'm like, what? I never heard that before. I had never heard that you can actually overdo it on what you think is health or competitiveness or whatever. And as the clock runs down on my lifespan, I'm like, okay, I don't have a lot of, if I'm a cat with 9 lives, maybe I have 6 more, maybe I have 5 more, maybe 3 more, but I don't know if I want to burn it up on becoming the world's oldest power lifter, or whatever. And it just really opened my eyes to this concept of longevity.
Yeah, that's an interesting case example, right? Because I think, it's very common for people to be thinking about short-term outcomes and not think about the long-term in terms of unhealthy behaviors, right? We're all this instant gratification, right?
Yeah.
But in your case, you were actually thinking about something that was, at least on the surface healthy, right? But that could have a detrimental impact on your long-term function and capability. Now, whether it would or not, I don't know, because there are people, there are these really impressive people who do sort of amazing physical things in their 80s and 90s. But it's an interesting, I think really the message there is about short-term thinking versus what's the long game? Yeah. What are you really after here?
Yeah.
Where do you want to be 10 years, 20 years, or as Peter says, your terminal decade, or, whatever his phrase is, right?
Yeah, that's my favorite phrase of his. But that's when I started thinking about why am I here? And, it's form versus function and performance versus, how you look and all of that. And so that just was a little spark. And then another conversation, he started educating me a lot more on his thinking about longevity and his influence by Peter Attia's work. And Nick has been studying this stuff his whole life, so he has many of his own learnings and theories, and combined with Peter Attia and more popular, social media about this stuff, he had started following you. He became aware of you. And he started talking to me about that. And he decided he wanted to maybe start his own consulting business. And I
remember that, yeah.
Yeah. I said, I will be your first client. I really want to learn more about this, because he was so passionate about it and he was so knowledgeable about it. And he was saying things that appealed to both the vanity part of why I work out and the function and the performance and longevity part of why I need to work out, right? And make better choices about my food, how I move my body, my sleep, and getting data on these things that so far, the only data I had, Matt, was the mirror.
Yeah.
And like some goofy blood tests that I got at my annual physical at my standard medical doctor. When I looked at the Optispan data after we started working together, and I compared that to the medical doctor.
Crazy. Yeah.
I was probably pre-diabetic.
I was going to say, was there anything that surprised you?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we talked about the hormones and we talked about DEXA. Is there anything else that popped out, in your biomarker assessments that surprised you?
Yeah. So I was working with George at the time here at Optispan and now Nikki. And a couple of things that you all told me, which was I was sort of generally in like a pretty good place and across many of my biomarkers, but that I had some danger signs. And even when I got here, I was eating better. I was, sleeping a little bit better. I was already what George said is beating my genes. He's like, based on your biomarkers, you have all of the propensity, genetic makeup, whatever he said, you should probably be a diabetic right now. If you were living the standard American diet, sure, you're kind of genetically supposed to be diabetic by now because that's the standard American diet. That's kind of where you would end up. Also, cardiovascular health. He's like, you're beating your genes. But there's a lot more that you can be doing because you're still kind of on a slippery slope. And my sleep was a huge problem. So he took a look at my sleep and he said, you're taking too many sleep medications. What's going on with you? I'm like, well, I have trouble falling asleep. I have trouble staying asleep. He said, the first thing we need to do is to get you off those sleep meds. We have to find out what's going on with you. And this is then also one of the other biomarkers that he identified was hormones, like you're depleted. There's probably a few others, but those seem to be the ones that stand out for me. So I got a sleep study and we discover I have pretty severe sleep apnea. Hello.
Didn't even know that, huh?
No.
Yeah.
My husband now knows when my apnea mask has fallen off, my CPAP has fallen off because I snore. So anyway, I got a sleep study, started addressing that, the hormones, started addressing that. And that has also, I believe the combination of those two things has positively impacted my sleep.
Yeah.
In, just going by my Fitbit or my Aura, I was getting maybe 5 hours of sleep a night. Even if I was in bed, I wasn't getting sleep, restful sleep. And I looked at my Fitbit this morning, Matt, and I got 9 hours of sleep yesterday between the nighttime sleep and I took a little nap. And that's the other thing I've been learning how to do is take naps. And so to go from 5 hours of sleep a night of sleep to 9.5 hours in a 24-hour period. So that was about 7.5 plus. It's incredible. Yeah. And so then I'm like, okay, my brain's working better. My body's working better. Is it the hormones? Is it the sleep? Is it? Well,
it's
of course, it's a system.
Yeah.
And so all of those things. And so, also this other crazy thing, my VO2 max. Yeah. So I told you, I don't do a lot of cardio. I hate cardio. It's one of the things that makes me mad. But
really,
and it makes me mad. I hate it. And it turns out that I am genetically gifted in this way because I don't do any cardio yet. My VO2 max and the first set of data when we first started, I can't remember what it was, but it was 90th percentile for my age. And this last time at the end of the year, the 12-month, we did the biomarkers, and it was improved even over that. And I don't do any cardio. So I think I'm genetically gifted.
But you said you ride a bike
I
and stuff
know,
like that.
but I don't do anything. I don't do anything. So I don't want to discourage anybody listening. But if you feel mad when you hear me say that, just know that if I eat a cookie, my blood sugar goes.
Yeah. We all have our triggers.
Oh my God. So I should be diabetic. I should have heart disease. Cardiovascular, like I guess I'm okay there. Like I don't have to do a lot there, but that doesn't mean I won't and don't. But
and that's the key about continuing to monitor and now you know what the biomarkers are, what they mean, how to use them, and you've got the ability to understand if you see a change, how to take action.
Yeah. And then, other biomarkers, you guys did ultrasound on my carotid arteries and my organs. And I was kind of secretly worried that I was maybe going to have a heart attack because I've had a very, very high stress career. I've damaged, I used to smoke for 30 years. I drank heavily for a little period. Always drank. And then for a little period, I drank heavily. I just figured I'm a walking heart attack with this stuff and just getting some data that, no, I'm in pretty good shape there, but there's more that I could do. So there was a lot of positive feedback that I got that it's all not doom and gloom. There are things that are in very, very good shape for me, but there's always room for improvement. So it just gave me confidence. I did say I felt a little depressed about the sleep because George said that, one of the common denominators of folks that develop memory problems, Alzheimer's or dementia, is the fact that they take sleep medication. Now, I don't know if the thinking on that has changed. To me, it may be that you're just not sleeping and that's what's causing.
I think that's the most likely explanation.
The medication is like I think a signal.
Right.
But that made me feel depressed.
Are you still on sleep meds?
Yeah. So I haven't been able to kick them totally, but I've been able to taper. And so the sleep meds I really take is Ambien, which we all know is just terrible, and Trazodone, which Trazodone I'm not so worried about, but the Ambien, I'm just like tapering. I think there's a psychological
certainly could be.
It,
yeah,
but,
absolutely.
I'm working with my doctor to move those down. So I feel really good about it.
But it sounds like your sleep, at least in terms of quantity of sleep and quality, has improved. And so I think that's probably the biggest thing to pay attention to under sleep and will almost certainly reduce your risk of cognitive decline and dementia just from getting good quality sleep.
You want to know what's kind of interesting, though, is this data that we've been gathering here for me at Optispan. We had like 3 data collecting sessions, right? And the one in the middle, so month 1, month 6, month 12. Month 6, we collected data. My data wasn't so good. And Nikki was looking at it going, I think it was Nikki, she was, what's going on with you? Like, and I can't remember which markers it was. You probably know this better than I, what they would be, but the metabolic markers were
so insulin,
of concern.
Glucose, A1C.
Yes. And she goes, how have you gone from beating your genes to like looking like you're succumbing to your genes in 6 months under our watch? I'm like, she goes, what the F? And I admitted, I said, I went through a period of about 2 months this year where I just got sick of eating protein and I was not in the mood to eat anything. I kind of lost my appetite. And so I was just eating what I could choke down. Wow. Bread, carbs. So all the principles that we laid out earlier, I was just like, I don't feel like eating anything. I was super stressed at work. I had a lot of anxiety about work. And I'm one of those people that when I get really stressed, I don't eat. And so I was going to the gym 3 times a week. I was doing all the things, the hormone, everything, but I wasn't eating properly. And it showed up in my blood like that. And so if we go back to how does that affect my eating principles, one of the things that I should mention to you is I don't eat an apple, for example, unless it's accompanied by something to offset the blood.
Sure,
so
like some sort of protein
or fat. Yeah. So I realized that I can't fake it. I can't just slop through even a Christmas season without damaging myself. Like I'm actually losing ground with every decision. And again, thinking about what does Peter Attia call it? The decade of death?
Terminal decade.
Okay, thank you.
That's what I think that's what he calls it.
I just don't have any, like, I don't have a lot of leeway. I expect to live to about 90 or 100. I just
don't limit yourself.
I mean,
Who knows?
you know, yeah. So that was some data that was like really depressing.
I think there's a few. Well, I mean, I think there's a few ways to look at it. I understand why it was depressing at the time, right?
Yeah.
For sure. But I mean, one way to think about it is this is part of the value of actually monitoring your biomarkers regularly, right? Because you may not have realized at that point what was happening, but you got the information. You were able to then recognize what it meant and take action to get yourself on a better trajectory, right? I think this is part of what a lot of people experience, particularly 40s, 50s. If you're not getting good quality medical care, you just get on this path and you start making these changes to your habits that then become reinforced over time. And you don't recognize until 10 years have gone by what's happened, how far things have slid. You caught it early, you fixed it, and now you're in a better place.
In fact, by the time we had gotten together, I had already corrected all of that. I was like, what? Back to my eating normal. Yeah. And so when I say it was depressing, it was starting to feel a little bit invincible. I'm like, I'm like beating my jeans, I'm 90 percentile. I'm a badass, I let my hair go natural. I don't have to wear makeup. I'm perfect. And then to see that my body still is human, that was a little bit like, I'm not Superwoman. But the flip side of that was I'm a control freak and I love being able to control things. And so the good news was, I can control that. So but still, data is power.
I think what you described there, again, is pretty common. I think we all go through periods, particularly sometimes if you feel like, you've got it dialed in, everything's right on, and then you just let it slide a little bit. And, those decisions have consequences.
Yeah,
but
they
you
do.
catch it early, you fix it, and move on.
Yeah, my margin for error is wider now.
Yeah, there you go.
For sure.
That's a good way to say it. Yeah. So we've talked a lot about, the path that you've walked. If there's someone listening who feels like they're, where you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, they want to make this shift in mindset trajectory, what's kind of the first step in your mind?
I want to say, get some data. I want to say that. There's two problems with getting data. One is you got to get the right data from the right people who can interpret it for you. And I didn't have that. I thought I was getting data. I was getting the wrong interpretation of the data from my doctors, like, you're good. So get data from people who are scientists in longevity medicine. If you can't get that data, then at least try to have somebody like that interpret the data you're getting from your doctor. I don't know exactly how to do that. Maybe ChatGPT can help with that. I'm not sure, Matt.
That's an amazing answer. And I did not prep her to say that, by the way, but that's fantastic. I mean, I think what you just said is so important because there's so many people out there now selling tests to consumers and not giving them good information on what are the right tests? How do you interpret it? People are doing exactly what you said. They're buying these blood tests or other types of tests on the internet, and then they try to take it to their primary care doctor who's like, get that out of my face. I don't know what you've got there.
Right.
But I don't want to see it.
Yep.
And then they put it in ChatGPT, which is not a great, ChatGPT is good, but it's not a great strategy because you then can't get help on taking action on the information that you get if you got the right information in the first place.
That's right. And it's sad. And the unfortunate part of this is, unlike air, healthcare and good healthcare isn't free. And it's also not obvious.
And it's rare, I would say. Even in the longevity space, it's far more people who call themselves longevity medicine are quacks than good docs.
So one of the things I love about your podcast is you guys call out the quacks. And you are so serious about this and so ethical about it that I believe everything you say. And that may not be smart. Maybe you're a quack too.
You should still question. Well, I hope I'm not a quack, but I make mistakes like everybody else.
Yeah,
so you
but
should
you say
absolutely.
That too. And I love that. But so getting data, not all data is created the same and it's not interpreted the same. And so I think getting the right information interpretation from that data is the key. So that's what I want to say, get data. But I also know that anybody that's listening to this that feels like a barrier, a hard barrier to overcome. Mm-hmm. You're the average person. You're like, where am I going to get data? I don't know. Just start by doing something that makes you feel like you're making progress. Mm-hmm. Then I would start there, and I would start at the gym. But I'm not saying the gym. It could be something on TV. It could be your Peloton. Something where you are taxing your body a bit, giving your body some, kind of reminding your body what it feels like to move and to lift things and to feel just a little bit, not sore, but like, oh, I kind of feel something there. The worst thing that I have ever done is I go to the gym and I'm like, I'm going to work out for like 2 hours, and the next day I can't walk.
Especially if you haven't been doing that regularly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I have never had a day like that in the last 5 years because, like I said, I've decided to make some investments in my health, which is working with a trainer that they don't do that to me. Right. So, but I would say go to a place where you can lift some kind of weight, whether it's buying some weights on your own, somehow get those nerves kind of remembering what it's like to move, what it feels like to feel a little bit like my body's working. And I think progressing from there, I guess those are the things I would say.
I think that's fantastic. Fantastic advice.
Yeah.
Great.
All right.
So is there one myth in particular about women's health or fitness that you wish you could dispel right now?
Hormones won't give you cancer.
I think it's a good one. And we can just leave it at that. I don't think any more needs to be said. Great. What are you most excited about for yourself, your health in the next 5-10 years? I just retired. Okay, Matt. So I've been retired for 6 days. Congratulations, by the way. Thank you. And so everybody's worried about me, like, oh my God, you're going to get so bored. But what they don't realize is that I've been training for this for the last 5 years. Like I mean, in 2020, one of the things is like, I want to retire pretty soon and I want to be able to enjoy my retirement, which means traveling and, doing all the things physically that I was able to do when I was 20, 30. And I'm already experiencing that. We're moving from our house to we're downsizing. And I spent 12 hours the other day moving boxes, lifting stuff up, climbing up a ladder, moving in weird directions. And I woke up the next morning and I wasn't sore. I wasn't even tired. And so I'm looking forward to the next 30 years of having days just like that, where this isn't a taxing event. Also, I'm 63 and my daughters are in their 30s. And I'm looking forward to the day when each of them retires themselves. Because if you think about it, it's not that far off for them. 30 years from now, fast. Both of them will be in retirement age if you kind of go by the standard American retirement age, which might be different by then. But I'm looking forward to taking each of them on an adventure to celebrate their retirement. Now, I'm just getting started on my retirement, but this is just the beginning of that phase of life. And so I'm like, I got to stay in shape for that because I think they're going to want to do something like go hiking, go whatever, like go do something crazy, maybe even just go on a cruise. But when I'm 90, I want to be able to do all the things that I can do now. Is that possible? That is such a cool, inspiring goal. Do you think that's possible? Absolutely, it's possible. Because and the other thing is every year on my birthday since I was 50, there's Molly Shannon did a skit on Saturday Night Live. And she was dressed kind of in these weird stretch pants. I'm getting to my point. She's wearing these weird stretch pants. They're red and she's got this stupid hair. And she's making fun of women my age at the time, how we're always talking about, I'm 50 and I can kick. I'm 50 and I can do this. And so she's kicking and doing this stupid skit. So ever since then, on my birthday,
I take a picture of myself. I'm 50 and I can kick 51, 52. So this last one, 63, my goal, I go to the same place at Smith Cove down here in Seattle. And there's this statue that's pretty high. And my goal is to always be able to kick as high as the tip of that statue. And this year, I actually did it for the first time.
Awesome.
It's taken me this long to be able to reach it. So I'm looking forward to that too. Those are simple things.
Yeah. And I mean, I think, setting goals, realistic goals, and continuing to work towards them is a big part of it.
Like if I can
You've got that down.
Like I don't feel like going to the gym today, but how on earth am I going to kick on my birthday if I don't?
All right. One more kind of last finishing thought here. What do you want people who have listened to this episode to take away? Like, what's your take-home message?
Billy Crystal, what I mentioned before, he's like, it's always better to look good than to feel good, darling. And I say, if you feel good and you have health from the inside, you will look good. That's the secret. It's not from the outside in, it's from the inside out. I'm always camera ready with no makeup, no hair color, no shower. All I have to do is comb my hair and wash my face, put on some face lotion, and I'm camera ready. I can go anywhere and my health shows up from the inside out and I feel great. And I see pictures of myself and I'm like, damn, your health is really showing. So if you're vain like me, that is really the shortcut to looking great. And all this other stuff, this external stuff and abusing your body internally, that's not the way to do it. So that's my parting remark.
There you go, folks. The beauty hack from Shannon Anderson. That was awesome. Thank you so much.
You're
welcome. This has been a lot of fun.
This
really
is fun.
Enjoyed it.
I got a question for you.
Okay.
You've been looking more beautiful from the outside in the last 5 years. I've noticed in the podcast.
Yeah.
You're more muscular.
Well, thank you.
Your skin, your hair. What's your secret?
Just don't read the YouTube comments because they're never very nice.
Really?
Well, I don't know. I don't read them anymore.
God.
I stopped.
Are you kidding me?
I mean, I think it's the
same.
same.
What have you been doing?
I think it's the same thing that you just said, right? I think I have absolutely taken made a dedication to my health. I've cleaned up my diet night and day.
Yeah.
Dropped way down in the amount of alcohol that I consume. I think honestly going on testosterone for me was a big game changer. And I've always, at least over the last 5 years, 10 years, done resistance training, but getting the diet cleaned up, the hormones, and doing the dedicated resistance training has had a huge effect on my physique. I think also leaving academia was a big part of it, right?
Why? Why is that?
I mean, I was just burnt out, right? And I think you can get burnout in any career. This is not necessarily a reflection on academia. It just was, I was at a point where it wasn't fulfilling anymore. And so that, all of those things together, I think have had a huge impact and learning. I mean, I think I studied the science of longevity. I certainly didn't live it or apply it. And I've gone on my own. I've learned a ton since I started Optispan and about, what works, what doesn't work, what are the right biomarkers, what works for me. It's very individual. So that whole journey, I think, is a big part of my personal story. And
yeah, it's interesting. It's, I know this is, and we're wrapping up, but when I first met you, you were the scientist, right? You academia, and you even said to me, I'm not necessarily practicing everything that I'm preaching. And I'm noticing that now that I'm, running this company and we're building this clientele, it's like, oh, this actually applies to me too. This is not just academic.
That's right.
This is practical.
That's right.
And then I see you living it. Yeah. And so, it's great.
I think the other thing for me that has changed is I have become much more open. I don't know if I would say comfortable, becoming more comfortable with my emotions and being more of that connect pillar. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Like
that's important.
If somebody had asked me 5 years ago, would I have worn this Buddhist string for the last 8 months or whatever it is to remind me to choose love, not fear. They're like, you're crazy. That's not me, man.
Yeah.
So I think, but that's had a big effect, like being more in touch with what's important on the emotional and relationship side all ties into that picture.
That's so interesting. I mean, we didn't even talk about that pillar, but that is one of the pillars of the
That's right, the
Optispan
Connect
program.
pillar. Yeah.
And, every time I talk to you all when I'm doing my sessions, I have to go, am I nurturing that pill? Am I spending? And that's one of the reasons for my decision to retire, kind of what I consider early. I wasn't thinking I was going to retire at 63, but I realized I wasn't really giving my family and my husband, who's my family, and my close friends the attention, and therefore not getting what I needed from them. I'm not saying anybody was falling short, and in fact, far from it. But at some point, there's got to be more of a balance. And I realized that is going to deplete me if I don't take better care of that. So
yeah, I'm glad you said that. I'm glad we went down this path. It's again, we should have talked about Connect and we kind of glossed over it, which is something that happens a lot, unfortunately, in this space. And what you just said, I think is very common, and certainly was my lived experience, especially being in academia, where it's so much about the data. You're working all the time. Your work is your life in many ways. And in many ways, my work is my life to a large extent still, right? But it's also much, much more personal and focused around health. And we didn't talk about this, but your story touched on it in different places. When you're taking steps to take control of your own health, that has a network effect on your loved ones and the people around you. And I think that's part of this Connect. And I've seen that in terms of the effect that it's had on my own family, them participating in our programs at Optispan, friends having conversations around, what I'm doing, and then seeing them take control as well of their own health. I'd be interested to hear from you, have you had experiences like that where you've seen similar impacts on the people that you care about? Yeah,
absolutely. So my husband, reluctantly at first, but has definitely followed suit, and he kind of copies me. We both did a program in 2020 with Pro Club. They have this program called 2020, and that was really like kind of what kick-started. That's how I ended up meeting Nick, actually, was he was working at Pro Club. He didn't want to do that program, and I said, fine, I'm with you or without you. Like, this is really important for me. And about a month into it, he started seeing significant changes in me, in every aspect. Energy. I was starting to, drop some weight, and you could sort of see some muscles. It was very, very quick that we could see some results. And he got jealous. He's like, oh my God, I cannot let her, he got competitive. Yeah. I cannot let her get this cute without me following along. And so ever since then, he and I have been on this journey together. In fact, we work out together.
That's great.
With the same trainer. But my daughters also have been influenced. One of the things that I've been sad about, though, is there are so many people that have asked me about this, and I open up the book, literally my Optispan book. I show them my results. I talk about it.
Yeah.
And I can't get anybody to get past the curiosity stage. They don't want to hear about it. They don't want to take more action. They're curious about me. And a lot of them have said to me, I just keep waiting. I keep waiting for you to fail and fall back, because there's a little bit of like cheering on my failure.
Yeah.
Not everybody. A lot of people are super supportive. Yeah. And then other people have put me into this box where almost they're the box that you would put an elite athlete, which I'm absolutely not, as you know. I'm just a regular lady. But they put me in this box where I'm doing something unachievable, and that I have a genetic makeup that makes it achievable for me and not for them. Mm-hmm. And I don't know where along the line, maybe because I was bragging like, I've got this great VO2 max, or I'm beating my genes. But somewhere along the line, people have stopped thinking about this as something that's achievable for them in the context of relating to me. I don't know why, because I don't walk around with it on my sleeve. So I don't know. I haven't been able to convince very many other people.
I think you just have to continue to work at it. Like, it takes time. Yeah. I guess what I would say is don't give up on people.
I won't give up on people. Yeah. I mean, right. And people are like, I don't know why you would make that kind of investment financially in your health, because, if you think about it, that's X number of dollars a day. I'm like, are you doing the math here?
Well, I'm
because
guessing a lot of the people that are in your world respect Warren Buffett, and he's got some really good quotes about investing in your health. So maybe that's the thing. Just have those on your sleeve and be like,
that's the thing.
Hey,
I don't know.
Warren Buffett said.
Yeah. But anyway, back to the pillar. My relationships are so much better with people because I'm more present.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think of myself now as not the person that needs to talk and be heard in my family and in my friendships, but I crossed this little, I don't know what it was. I had this moment where I'm like, I'm an elder now. My job is to be wise and listen and, set an example. My job is not to talk about me and have it be about me, including all the stuff that I do, but more of setting an example and being an elder and being wise. And so I don't know, I just feel really confident in that role.
And still able to kick ass when ass needs to get kicked.
That's right. And kick high.
Awesome. So I'm glad we had that tangent. Got some bonus material there. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Matt. It was fun. I appreciate it.
And thank you all for watching the Optispan podcast. As always, if you've got any questions or comments, please leave them below. And if you're not yet a subscriber, after this fantastic episode, you've got to hit that subscribe button. See you all next time.